So here we are, we're recording. Welcome again, and please put yourselves on mute to keep the background noise to a minimum. There's a chat tool that you can post any questions or issues. We will have an opportunity throughout the call for discussion and questions and answers and so on. I'm just going to give a very brief introduction for today's meeting of 90 minutes in total. I'm happy to see just in the attendee list here many new names, and that reflects the continued growth of the Climate Change Coalition's membership. We're somewhere around 300 organizations now, still somewhere between 50 and 60 countries. That's great, but obviously much more growth potential, and I think that's going to happen more so this year than before. I've shared my screen if people are calling or using their computer with an agenda that was previously circulated by email in the Climate Change Coalition Slack space. I've just added a few more details to the agenda here. So what's being proposed is Massamba, Thioye co-chair of the coalition, who previously talked about the Global Innovation Hub leading into COP26, has more to share about opportunities for coalition members to be involved in the Global Innovation Hub as it's now launched, and there's great opportunities. And then following Massamba's presentation, Susan David Carevic of the World Bank Climate Warehouse is going to share with us an update. And following Susan, Toyo Kawabata from UNEP based in Paris, who's been working on blockchain for climate, has been invited to share more of their activities and plans for members to potentially be involved. And as always, Miroslav Polzer, who is just a gold mine of finding opportunities and helping coordinate events for the coalition and its members. So there's a few listed that he can talk about, as well as opportunities for more direct targeted interaction with the UNFCCC. And then previously mentioned the proposal to do a member survey related to carbon footprint and metrics of digital solutions, and particularly coalition members, now that that issue has become such a focal point. And according to the coalition's charter, we, in our shared values and principles, make clear that we want to be responsible in that regard, and being able to be transparent and demonstrate what we're doing is par and parcel of that course. And because we have so many new members, and this is our first call for this year, having an open session for updates and introductions and Q&A. So that is a quick run through of the draft agenda. I'd like to invite any member who would like to add any new items. I'm just looking at the chat spot, so all hellos. Yes, we are recording it, Sherwood. So any items that members would like to add or modify on the agenda, please post it in the chat box, or raise your hand if you'd like to speak instead. I don't see anything, and it is quite a lot. We do have an opportunity to any other business. So if something pops up, I do see quadratic funding. That's a good point. Thanks, Christoph. I think under the open discussion, we can talk about funding potential for the Climate Change Coalition. Thank you very much. Then, if there's no objections, then we can proceed with today's agenda. And I'd like to invite Massamba to speak to the UN Global Innovation Hub. Massamba, do you have any slides, or will you just be speaking?
I will just be speaking.
Okay,
No
thanks
slide.
very much. Okay, over to you.
Yeah, it seems that there is an echo.
Oh, do you hear an echo? I don't hear one. Does anyone else hear an echo? If you
Yeah, I
do,
have
just say.
my voice back.
I don't hear an echo either. I'm wondering if it's on your end.
I also don't hear an echo.
I believe it might be
okay.
on your end.
Yeah, okay. So let me just then try to find alternative way, or I will try to do with that. Okay, so
Massamba, sorry to interrupt you. If you'd like to sort out that technical issue, we could proceed with another item which are, I think, shorter interventions, and then should be able to return back to you if you prefer, or we can continue as if you'd like.
it will be better.
That you allow someone else to speak first?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks very much, Massamba. Hope see you soon. Then I'm just looking to see if Susan happens to be with us at the moment. I don't see Susan.
I think it should be solved now.
Okay.
It is solved.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the participants to this meeting. Very glad to see that the coalition is growing and there is a lot of new members. I will take the opportunity also to wish you all a very happy new year. I guess it's not too late. I understood that until end of January we can still continue to wish happy new year. So my name is Massamba Thioye. I'm leading the regulatory framework implementation within the UNFCCC Secretariat, and we have three main responsibilities: to measure the impact of climate action, and number two, to design incentive instrument, and then number three, to leverage innovation to serve climate action. So, and this is in relation to that third responsibility that I'm leading a new initiative from the UNFCCC Secretariat, the UN Climate Change Global Innovation Hub. So it was launched at COP26 with the participation of the Climate Change Coalition. Now today, what I would like to share with you is our roadmap to our COP27 with the deliverables that we are expecting to produce, so that we can also explore to what extent the Climate Change Coalition can participate to this movement. So first of all, maybe very quickly, the Global Innovation Hub is a movement, and the main objective is to facilitate a more effective use of innovation to serve climate action. So innovation is being used, but we feel that it is not being used in a very effective manner. And this is really the focus of this initiative. And to make the use of innovation more effective, we are focusing mainly on three aspects. We are encouraging more ambitious commitment, not based on what is perceived as possible, but on what is needed, so that the gap between the two provides space for innovation. Number two, instead of focusing at the sectoral level for incremental improvement in the form of reduction of carbon footprint, we would like to promote more innovation being used to explore alternative product, alternative supply chain, value chain that can satisfy the core human need in a way that is aligned with the global climate goal and the sustainability goal. And also we would like to move away from a focus on problem, where each entities is only focusing on reducing its own emissions. So each corporate is focusing on how can I reduce my emission, how can I become net zero. Each city is focusing on how can I reduce my emission. Each nation, we consider the same, each nation focusing on the reduction of its own emissions through its nationally determined contribution. This is not really the type of collaboration that can help achieve the long-term climate goal. We want radical collaboration between corporate, between cities, and between nations. And this radical collaboration can only take place if you move away from a problem focus approach to a solution focus approach. So entities should not see themselves as only solver of their own problem. I just want to reduce my own emission. I want to become net zero. We want them to see themselves as solution provider. It means that it's not just about reducing your own emission, but it's about developing solution that can help also others reduce their own emission, about developing solution that can be a response to a global demand for climate and sustainability solution. So what we are really looking forward to see happening is situation where nations commit to develop solution that can respond to the global demand for climate and sustainability solution. Corporates see themselves also as solution provider. And one important aspect there is that to move away from this sector-based approach and focus on need, as well as if you want to move from problem to solution, digital technology is absolutely needed. It has to play a critical role. So, for example, the most transformative type of climate action that can actually disrupt entire value chain and replace existing product by other product and change the way the core human needs are satisfied. This type of climate action, the most transformative one, rely on digital technologies. They are very much leveraging digital technology. A simple example, without going into the detail, is on transportation. If you have a sector approach, we'll focus on how can I move from combustion car to EV car. If you have now a more, let's say, transformative approach, you will actually challenge the need for car. And then you can start exploring alternative way of satisfying the core human need of access to education, and trip to school can be replaced by tele-education. Trip to work can be replaced by telecommuting. And like us, what we are doing now, trip to conference, international conference or meeting can be replaced by teleconference, and online shopping will replace trip to the shop. So you can see here that when you go back to the core human need, you can leverage digital technology to put in place more transformative type of climate action. So just to highlight the important role of digital technology on our approach of, let's say, transformative innovation, and our approach of effective use of innovation to serve climate. So now, what are the key deliverables for 2022? Number one, we have to put in place the governance structure that is still not in place. We hope that it would be so at this point in time. We thought that in January it would have been already done, but it is a little bit delay. But definitely we want within the first quarter to have all the governance structure in place. So we will have steering committees, advisory committees, and working group around the core human need of nutrition and health, shelter, access, leisure, and clothing. And for all these core human need, the question that we are asking is the same. How can we use innovation to replace the obsolete and carbon intensive value chain used to satisfy these core human need with new value chain that are more climate friendly. And we will have also one working group around the digital platform, its further development and its maintenance. So another important stream of work, another important deliverable is the demand for climate solution from corporate and countries and subnational. So we would like to have the Global Innovation Hub serving the NDC. This is really a very important point. Our senior management has put emphasis on that. And what we realize is that one of the outcome of Glasgow, which is related to Article 6, market mechanism and non-market mechanism, both actually of this outcome require a lot of leverage of digital technology. For the first, for example, for the trading of carbon, the issuance of carbon credit, all these things require, can leverage the digital technology, particularly DLT, blockchain, for something that is more streamlined, for something that take less time and also is less costly. Article 6.8, which is non-market approach, is particularly interesting because what parties would like to do looks very much like what we have started building. They would like to have a platform where what is called non-market approach, which is what we call climate and sustainability solution, can be looked for. So the platform will go out and look for this climate and sustainability solution. And if they do not exist, send out a signal to invite solution provider to work on this solution. So I think this, the decisions, the outcome of Glasgow provide really a lot of space for the use of digital technology, particularly DLT and blockchain, more specifically. So under 6.2, where it's about, let's say, countries putting in place their schemes and generating their own units, there is a lot of room for leveraging digital technology, more specifically blockchain. And if you take also 6.8, as I have mentioned, on non-market approach, for me, this is even where much more digital technology will be required, and where blockchain will have a greater role to play. So we want also the digital platform that we are building to be finalized and operational before COP27. We want also to launch some challenge. So I think on that aspect, one thing that we will do whenever there is a challenge that we will launch, it will be also, we will use the climate change coalition to be able to access all the members. We are working also on a framework for a consumption-based ESG accounting. I think it was mentioned by Tom. This is focusing on carbon content, carbon footprint of product and services. This is part of the Global Innovation Hub. And here we are partnering with British Columbia and Goyan City to try to come up with a framework. And that one is very important. You know that the European Commission has put in place this carbon border adjustment mechanism that rely a lot on carbon footprint of product, and that will require in the future product passport. So with the carbon content of the product in the passport, so that stream of work will be also relevant to all these different development. So as I told you before, a framework for the measurement of the climate contribution of solution provider. We want all the entities to become solution provider rather than just working on problem, but be able to develop solutions that others can use. And to incentivize this movement, you need to have in place a framework that allow to measure the impact of a solution. When an enabler provide a solution, how do you measure its impact and recognize it? As this is very important for all the tech company and all the people working on digital technology, because digital technology are company are solution provider. Finally, we are also there. There is a collaboration with the European Green Digital Coalition. They are trying to do exactly the same thing as what we are trying to do, and that work can only be done if we leverage DLT. So all these things that I'm sharing with you, they can only be done with the consumption-based GHG accounting, as well as this measurement of climate contribution of solution provider. This can only be done if you leverage DLT. So we will also finalize a framework for integrated green bond and carbon market. There also DLT will be used. Here we are working on a collaboration with the Bank for International Settlement and the Hong Kong Exchange. So it's a stream of work that will probably also deliver something really interesting. So finally, at COP, we will have this UN Climate Change Global Innovation Hub dialogue, like the one we had at Glasgow. So at Egypt, we would like to have the same thing. So it means we will have 12 days of dialogue, starting with 8 hours per day of dialogue, covering a lot of theme and topics. So what we will explore is to what extent we can have, let's say, a half day dedicated to the climate change coalition, where members can have the opportunity to share in front of a quite important audience the issues that they're working on. But the only thing is that we will prioritize those work that are supporting the approach that the Innovation Hub is taking, meaning a need-based and solution-oriented approach. That's it. I will stop there, and if there is any question, I will be happy to further elaborate if needed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Massamba. Needless to say, very exciting developments, and I have made at least pretty close to a page of notes and sort of questions. I'm thrilled to hear about the potential for the coalition members to participate in a half day during COP27 with the Global Innovation Hub. Would you happen to know at this point, does that include both the opportunity to participate sort of on site in a pavilion as well as online, or is that something to be determined?
Yeah, so we are looking forward to continue this approach, because we really see that having this hybrid way of working is extremely inclusive, because there are many interesting people that are not necessarily coming physically at COP, and we would like to be able to have access to also these people. So we'll try as much as possible to have it hybrid, so that those that cannot come physically can also participate remotely, like at Glasgow.
Okay, that's good to hear. And you had mentioned a number of organizational elements like a steering committee, advisory group, working group, launching challenges, and so on. Where could more information be found, or would you be able to share some links or files that can be distributed among the membership sometime soon, or when you think's a good time to start to have members engage?
So on the working group, we are working on the TOR for members. They are not yet finalized. Maybe once they are finalized, I can share with you, Tom, so that it is uploaded at the website. And of course, when we will make an invitation to members of the working group to join the working group, this also we will provide the information to you, Tom, so that it is posted at the Climate Coalition chain website, or sent by email to all members, so that they are aware that we are actually onboarding members in the different working group. So we invite people that are interested to express interest. Of course, we will not be able to take everyone, because we have limited numbers, but we will be very much interested to collaborate with as many members as possible.
Thank
So
you
on the
again.
challenge, the same. On the challenge, we'll use the Climate Change Coalition to inform people that we are launching a challenge, so that members that are interested can also participate to the challenge.
Thanks very much, Massamba. Just a reminder to anyone on the call that has any questions, please use the chat box, and we can more orderly way start to address them. In the meantime, while I don't see any specific questions, I think one next step is that we could use the Climate Change Coalition Slack space, create a channel to store the information and support any dialogue or collaboration amongst members who are interested in following this particularly and wanting to participate, in addition to sharing the information by other means, such as by emails to the membership, or even posting it in the general channel of the Slack space. Well, yeah. I will share a lot of notes in terms of posting it as a follow-up, as well as the link to this this meeting, and we will look with interest to the forthcoming calls and invitations and so on. Thanks very much, Massamba. Any final words you'd like to make before we?
Yeah, no, maybe just to reiterate that innovation will be really critical to achieve the long-term goal of the Paris Agreement, because currently we are not working on the right problem. We need to have much more ambitious commitment and target, and the gap that need to be filled if this right problem are on the table is huge, and digital technology will be a very important leverage point.
Totally agree. The Global Innovation Hub's a really valuable development to help coordinate all of the various solution developers and types of innovation and so on. So I think it's a great asset that the coalition members and others, of course, can engage with to make the most from all of the innovations together, because as you nicely described, Massamba, not only the radical collaboration and the transformational change, how people approach doing all of that is really sort of cultural and sort of mental process. Kind of like Albert Einstein, you can't solve our problems with the same thinking that got us those, right? So we need to think outside the box.
Yes, definitely. Fully agree with you. We cannot solve the problem with the mindset that have created it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's fantastic. It sounds like you've got the vision and it's well on its way. So I hope some of the things we're planning to do, not to get too far ahead, is to schedule dedicated web meetings. And so that might, when the timing's right, certainly well in advance of COP, to have a dedicated call just on this topic, because these omnibus type calls don't permit enough time for each topic, even though we give ourselves an hour and a half. So I'll follow up Massamba to find out when such a time might be appropriate, and then try to organize a doodle poll to find dates and enable members to have a dedicated discussion. Thanks again, Massamba. Then I would be very happy to invite Susan David Carevic from World Bank, who I can see is joined. Susan, if you would like to take a few minutes to share an update, and well, let me leave it at that, please. Go ahead.
Hi, Tom. Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
Nice and clear.
Okay, great. I do have some slides that I can share out. I wanted to provide everybody with an update on the climate warehouse. Just give me, I don't think it's going to let me, won't let me share. So maybe, okay.
I've just tried to make you presenter. Hopefully you get it.
Yeah, I have it. It's
okay.
Fine. Okay. All right, great. So I have some slides here that give you a bit of an overview of what the climate warehouse is, for those of you who are not familiar with it. And then I will talk to you a little bit about how far along we are and what some of our next steps are. And so we see the climate warehouse as a public good data layer built on blockchain. So this diagram, I think, depicts it really well of how we see the climate warehouse fitting in with the broader ecosystem. We see it as a way for different registry systems to connect and share their data out, with the purpose of trying to build more transparency into the markets and also avoid double counting risks. And so in this diagram, you see the climate warehouse sits in this metadata layer. The registry systems would connect and share their metadata, which is their publicly available information, to the climate warehouse. And then others can use it for due diligence purposes or to build services on top of it. So what we hope is that this public good infrastructure that we're putting out there will be available to the market and also for others to build upon and to integrate with. So we get a lot of questions of what it is that we're trying to do and what is the climate warehouse and what isn't it. And so we put together this slide just to show what it is and what it's not. And we do see this as a distributed public good platform. The purpose is for information sharing. We are defining a common data model that will be used by the partners that are providing data, and will also make it this data more accessible to market participants more broadly. We see it as a way of being able to guard against double counting. It will also provide an integration layer as well for sharing data between different partners. What it's not, we don't see as a trading exchange. It's not a standalone registry. We also don't call it a meta registry because the Climate Warehouse does not hold title at all. It just reflects the information that's in connected registry systems. We also don't see it as a dispute mechanism or a place to resolve those types of remedies. That could be a service that's there and they might utilize information that's in the warehouse, but we don't see the data layer taking on that kind of role. We also don't see it going into the details of an MRV system. We see other systems that would be taking on that purpose. And we also don't see this as a club or consortium with exclusive rights to data. So we want this to be an open public infrastructure for country registry systems to plug into, but also those in the voluntary space as well. So we have just finished up our simulation on phase 2, and I don't want to take up too much time. I know you've got a very large agenda. I have a lot of the lessons learned from our phase 2, or at least the high level ones, are in the annex of this presentation that I'll be sharing out with you. It was a long exercise. It was very interesting. What it enabled us to do was to gather a lot of viewpoints from different partners and different types of partners. So from governments, from the voluntary, the independent standards, from large exchanges, from buyers, from project developers, to see how would they want their information viewable in a climate warehouse. What kind of use would they make of this system? And are we showing the appropriate amounts of data? So our big ask from our participants was to look at the functions in the warehouse and the data sets and to see, is there data missing? Are we tracking the information properly? Can you tell where a project or units are within its life cycle from issuance to retirement by looking at the data in the warehouse? And so we've got a pretty good idea that we're almost there. We do know that we need to update our data model, and we'll be updating some of the functions that are in the system. And that will be fed into our new prototype. So we have begun working on our new prototype based on the outcomes that we had of simulation 2. And so we will be updating the data model. We'll be upgrading some of the functions in there as well, like the better ability to track project or unit data. And a big piece that we're doing here is that this is the first time that we're going to test out public blockchain as well. So we have built 4 prototypes over the years for the Climate Warehouse, all using different versions of private blockchain. We have prototyped on Ethereum twice, actually no, 3 times. This latest version was on Kaleido. We have used Hyperledger. And for this new phase going forward, we are going to be partnering with Chia, and they are building out a new prototype with us utilizing public blockchain. The interesting part about that is it enables us to explore some of the governance situations that will occur for using public blockchain. How do we ensure that we understand what data to subscribe to? How does the participation work? How do we, what are the implications of private versus public? How do we know whose data we're looking at? So these are some of the questions that we're trying to answer in working with Chia on this project. So this is a non-exclusive partnership that we have with Chia. And Chia has agreed to make it open sourced, freely available. It's also no charge to the World Bank. We feel that by having an open API, having this open source, we enable many more participants to actually provide feedback and to connect to it. And so that's the purpose of this prototype going forward. We hope to have a minimal viable product out February, March timeframe from our partnership with Chia. So for more information on this project, we do have a website out now, which is called theclimatewarehouse.org. There is no very recent information on the Climate Warehouse there, but as we put together our lessons learned from Simulation 2, they will be out on the website, and also our data model will be shared there, other documents that others can use as well. And then I also have an announcement to make. So I've been interacting with this community for quite a while from my role in the World Bank. I am in the process of leaving the World Bank. I have found an opportunity in the private sector that I'm going to be moving to. And I wanted to make sure that there's continuity between this community and the World Bank. So I don't have my colleagues on this call with me today, but I'd like to introduce you to Gemma Torres Vivas, who will be taking over the Climate Warehouse portfolio from me, and we've been transitioning for the past couple weeks. She will begin in February, and here's her contact information. Lucas Belenki has been working with me substantially on the Climate Warehouse over the past year. He also is working with the World Bank on a lot of their digital MRV work as well. And so feel free to reach out to these colleagues for information. My actual last working day at the World Bank will be on Monday. So I will open it up to questions that you might have about the simulation. I think in my new role, I will probably reconnect with this community, and I'll be able to talk more about it then at that point.
Thank you very much, Susan. First, let me say it's been a pleasure over all these years of interacting with you, and not only congratulations on your transition into the private sector, but for everything that you've accomplished over the last few years. It's been obviously a major contribution to digital and climate. Would it be possible to share your slides with members afterwards? Because
Yes,
there's some really great information. Fantastic, thank you. Again, any members that have any, I mean, there's congratulations and great works to you, Susan, in the comments, but if there are any questions for Susan, now is the time, because she's only got a couple days left before leaving. Well, I learned again some more information, and we have been talking on and off for a number of years, like going back to at least, well, I think the first meeting of the Climate Change Coalition, other than the founding meeting itself. And I didn't realize that there were so many prototypes of the Climate Warehouse. I look forward to learn more about those experiences. I don't know if they'll be posted to the main website or could be shared maybe in a call with either Gemma or Lucas in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Susan, for also respecting the limited time that we have available. So I hope you can stay. There's some really good information, even though you'll be going to the private sector. We hope to see you again. Okay, I am going to transfer over presenter rights to Toyo now over at UNEP. I apologize. I'm struggling here to in my display to find Toyo, because I'm should probably be wearing glasses. Toyo.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Maybe in the meanwhile, I can already start talking.
Yes, please. And I don't know if you have video, or I wish I could. There you are. Okay, thanks very much. Got a pretty good turnout today. Do you have a pop-up?
Yes.
Great.
Yes. So I share my screen. Hope you can now look at my screen.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Great to join this Climate Change Coalition meeting for the first time. So my name is Toyo Kawabata, working for the UN Environment Program, Energy and Climate Branch. Today, I would like to briefly talk about UNEP's recent and upcoming work on the blockchain technology in the climate and energy domain. As you can see in this slide, UNEP and Social Alpha Foundation have recently launched a report entitled Blockchain for Sustainable Energy and Climate in the Global South. So as its title says, the report discusses the blockchain's potential, challenges, and future recommendations for sustainable energy and climate in the Global South. So it is available from UNEP website, and also yesterday we released a news story in the website. So after my talk, I'll put it in the chat box. Hope you can take a look at it. Then just a brief summary of this report. The report firstly discusses what is blockchain and its possible application to the clean energy and climate field, because this report targets the policymakers and also the private sector in developing countries who are keen to look at blockchain for for their clean energy transition. Then, in the second part of this report, we'll discuss the specific pilot projects, including the case studies in developing countries. And for that, we had UNEP and Social Foundation had collaboration with the many CCC members and also the blockchain solution providers outside CCC. And at the end of this report, a roadmap for accelerating the climate action with a blockchain solution is proposed, and for that we collaborated with the Open Earth Foundation. Yeah, so this slide is just to show our contributors to this slide, and as I mentioned, thank you very much for the contributions from the CCC members. As you see here, there are several CCC members like Blockchain for Good, Climate Check, Eco to Leisure, and other members. So we are pleased to collaborate with these institutions, and also in the reviewing process, some UN agencies like UNDP and UN Habitat contributed to the providing the external review. Yeah, so this is a really quick summary of our report, and we had the event last week, and we will be sharing the slides and video record in our website. It's still under preparation, but I will be informing through the CCC Slack later once it's ready. And so this is a quick summary of our report, and also this is just to inform that the UNEP will be organizing an event regarding the blockchain in the upcoming MENA Climate Week. So UNEP is currently supporting the Middle East and North Africa Climate Week. So led by UNFCCC Secretariat, the regional climate weeks aim to accelerate collaboration and integrate climate action. And among the sessions which UNEP is organizing, in collaboration with Dr. Milo from IAAI, we are collaborating to co-organize an event of transformative climate action through blockchain in MENA region. This is also under preparation, as the event will be organized in early March. But I think in Miro's presentation, I'm sure you will be touching upon some more information regarding this event. So I'll try to stop here. So thanks very much for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Toyo. But this is not only the report in the event last week and what you've just highlighted now. Many members have collaborated with you at events that you've coordinated, I think, back in 2019. So again, similar, been very fortunate to be able to collaborate with the UNEP, and just goes to show that a lot of the leading international organizations, the Climate Change Secretariat too, of course. And so thank you for being so open to involvement from an array of climate change coalition members to date, and thanks for posting the links here and subsequently in the coalition Slack. I know Miroslav will talk next about this event opportunity and others, but if members have any questions for Toyo, please post them again in the chat, and we can address those either now or afterwards when we have some dedicated time. Then if there's no questions at the moment, I'm happy to see Miroslav just posted a bunch of information. Toyo, I hope you can stay a bit more as we talk about this event next. And I'd be happy to invite Miroslav Polzer to speak to the next item on the agenda in terms of these events and opportunities that he's helping to coordinate at this point.
Thank you very much, Tom. Hi, Toyo. It's a great pleasure and honor to present here with you this initiative for the Blockchain for Climate event at the MENA Climate Week, and to explain why it is important and why there is an opportunity for Climate Change Coalition to partner with Blockchain for Climate stakeholders in the United Arab Emirates and in the MENA region, so that there would be really a stronger uptake of the digital innovation topic and blockchain technology in particular in the UNFCCC process. So as you know, it is this year's presidency over the Conference of Parties, COP27, is in Sharm el-Sheikh. It's North Africa. It's part of the MENA region. It's an Arab country, and next year it is the United Arab Emirates that are going to be the presidency. And in the UNFCCC process, the presidency is a key player. It's really putting the agenda together and putting the priorities and be the convener of parties and non-party stakeholders. And so, as United Arab Emirates is one of the most vivid and most fastest growing crypto hubs globally, and they are also one of the countries that has the strongest blockchain uptake in the government sector, it is now, for the topic blockchain for climate, for the climate change coalition, an opportunity to build awareness, educate the policymakers, those who are involved in preparations of COP28, that this is an opportunity for the UAE and for the world. And here the MENA Climate Week is a wonderful coincidence that it's happening now in 1 month, more or less, provided it will not be postponed. We've received yesterday some messages that there's also the option that because of the COVID situation, it could be postponed, but in general, it's a big opportunity. And I've been there in Dubai the last 10 days, and I've met with the CEO of Dubai Blockchain Center and with the World Green Economy Organization, set up connections to the Ministry for Climate and Environment. And it looks like that there will be now already at the MENA Climate Week, this Blockchain for Transformative Climate Action session in track 3, also in the main program there. We will have a networking event prior to this session to bring together experts in the region, building on the membership of Climate Change Coalition and the local solution providers and academics and those involved in governing this space. And the idea is that we then form a cluster and that this cluster then provides an action plan and concrete suggestions to the UAE COP28 presidency and partially also COP27 presidency, but the most open-minded and well-resourced people are in the COP28 presidency. And so that this will be really a big boost for blockchain technology in the UNFCCC process. In the chat window, you can see the link to the MENA Climate Week homepage. Then also we have set up but not yet published a LinkedIn group where all those who are interested to contribute in this field can connect, and this will be the main channel to network. And then we have also IAAI has applied for a side event about digital innovation for an inclusive UNFCCC process, where we are going to present our United Citizens Organization for Action for Climate Empowerment, DAO. And Romy Sumaria is here, a new CCC member who is one of our leading team members on this topic. Hi, Romy. Happy to have you here. So, and we are presenting also our ideas and suggestions on a COP in the metaverse, which we will elaborate further then with this competence cluster that's emerging. And for this topic and for another one that I'm going to present later, I have set up a doodle poll to invite Climate Change Coalition members who are interested in the topic to join us and to work with us on preparations for the MENA Climate Week, and also preparations for a Climate Change Coalition submission to the current consultation of the UNFCCC about the Action for Climate Empowerment program. Because in the UNFCCC process, you know, it's the government's process, and this government's process that does not lead to action and impact. So there's a need for systemic innovation and for enhanced non-state actors engagement, and the formal, from the systems logic, the gate, the portal for the non-state actors to enter and to enlarge the mandated global governance space is Action for Climate Empowerment. And at the COP26, there's been agreed the Glasgow Work Program for Action for Climate Empowerment, which is still a very empty framework. And they are now going to have a meeting, the UNFCCC process at the Intersessional in Bonn in June. There will be a consultation about the Action for Climate Empowerment Action Plan, a short plan, and there we are going to provide some input, because there is a concrete invitation in general to non-party stakeholders. So we could say it's the formal invitation, an entry ticket for the crypto community, for Climate Change Coalition members, digital innovation solution providers, and we have to come up with concrete plans, what we are proposing actionable to this UNFCCC process, that we are helping the UNFCCC process and Paris Agreement implementation. So these are the main points. I think that's all. I hope it was. Perhaps we will have in this context also an event in the framework of the UN Science, Technology and Innovation Forum, which is in May this year, having then also the event web broadcasted on UN Web TV, as we have had last year. And last information, with this UAE-based push for blockchain for climate, we want also to start an initiative for developing a toolbox, an educational toolbox for schools, but also vocational training for youth climate action empowerment, about how to use blockchain technology to empower everyone to climate action, about digital wallets, NFTs, using our Digital Art for Climate initiative as a framework, so that these kids would start creating NFTs from artwork, photos, videos, what they have, whatever. We are going with it in the metaverse. We are working with Digital Village, metaverse initiative and company. And then also on the next level, talking about marketplaces, NFT marketplaces, how this can be used for microclimate entrepreneurship, and in the third module about DAOs and collaborative governance, new social contracts, also in the context of European Climate Pact. And that's it.
That's giving back. Thank you, Miroslav. That's more than sufficient intro for the year, I'd say. Thank you for, as always, for identifying and assessing and bringing forward these opportunities. I know you're focusing on the next couple of months with the Metaclimate Week and submitting something on behalf of Climate Change Coalition members for the call that you mentioned. I think most people are already aware, although we have many new members today, that you're also involved throughout the year leading up to COPs. And so just to say thanks again for not only today, but everything throughout up to this point and into the future, for identifying both opportunities and helping to members to participate at these events to sort of get the profile out. Thanks for posting the information in the chat box here. I presume you'll post it in the Slack as well. And if you could draw attention to those doodle polls for members who are interested to discuss further either those two opportunities that you've raised. That'll be another set of webinars we intend to have happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks. If there's no additional questions for Miroslav at this time, and I know we have other items that are open discussions, then I will suggest that I'll just highlight one other event. And Susan at World Bank raised this to me. Many of you have, I think, participated in the previous year's Innovate for Climate conferences. There's again this year, May 22 to 26, I think, coming up. So something to investigate. Innovateforclimate.com is the website, and perhaps some members can coordinate on that event as well. I don't know if there's any other events that members on today's call are aware of and would like to drop into the chat box or the Slack space. Please do, because it's a big world with a lot of events regionally, and it's good to share that amongst members. If there are no other questions specifically on the events and opportunities that Miroslav just raised, the final point in this agenda item is that we had previously mentioned we're going to put together a newsletter, so that'll be compiling these opportunities along with the usual sections for member updates and announcements and other resources. So thanks, Miroslav. The next item on the agenda is the member survey I had mentioned at the beginning of this call and in the today's meeting invitations, and that is developing and conducting a survey among Climate Change Coalition members in terms of what are the carbon footprints or solutions that members are doing to follow through on the sustainability commitments ourselves, in addition to the solutions that are being developed to help others achieve sustainability goals. And so, as has been raised by Massamba and many others, the issue of energy consumption and carbon emissions from blockchain and sometimes with other solutions has caught people's attention. And I think we should demonstrate that we are not ignoring the issue and indeed want to be forthcoming about it. I think that will help stakeholders develop greater confidence and trust in regards to that issue. So I will be following up, since there's not a lot of time, unless there's specific questions today, with a dedicated sort of draft survey and invitation for any members who would like to share resources, not only about their own organization, but I know there's been some research and I've compiled some, so I'll create a channel to help compile that information, and hope members will help contribute to make that survey as impactful as possible. And I anticipate it'll be sometime during February that it'll be developed and conducted, so that we can sort of come up with some recommendations or a roadmap to implement later on in 2022. Then I would like to take a break myself from talking and invite members who are interested now in the session, like an open session, open discussion. Please use the chat if you would like to make a statement. And Catherine Foster, thank you very much. You make such great, not just comments, but also all of the contributions. You're often one of the key contributors to making all of these activities a success. I think you've posted about the EU Observatory. Would you like to make a few comments about that and anything else at this time? I don't know if you're muted.
Trying to
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on my phone. Just went for a walk here in Switzerland. So I just want to say thank you to Susan in particular, and also just thanks Toyo and Miroslav. I work both with Open Earth Foundation, I think Martin's on the call, and Social Alpha Foundation. So really happy to be collaborating on those. And the EU Blockchain Observatory and Forum was revamped last year. I think there's some members here on the call. And as a member myself, I'm really, really happy with the trajectory we're taking. And I know, Tom, you contributed to a panel as well. And there's a pretty good report that just came out a couple of months ago. I've reposted on LinkedIn, so I'll share that with the resources. And yeah, just keeping my eye on here in Europe on so many of the new activities related to the digital agenda in the EU in particular, and the climate, and have a briefing ready on sort of the EU Horizons grant and policy landscape. So perhaps we can arrange at some point, maybe on the next Climate Change Coalition call, for just a brief overview of that as well, if that's useful to members. So thank you very much, Tom, always for your work and dedication.
Thank you, Catherine, to say it mildly. Great suggestion. I'd like to follow up with you on and try to coordinate another session. You listed so many activities there that I didn't even catch them all. So definitely, thank you very much. Looking at the comments, is there a 2022 to 2027 roadmap? So more or less a longer term climate change coalition roadmap or strategy. We don't have anything formal at this point, but that could be a project that we start to at least outline what a longer term roadmap could be beyond sort of an annual roadmap, which sort of always depends on what's possible or events happening. So thanks for that point, Christoph. I don't know if you'd like to elaborate on it, on your question, or make any suggestions, please do. Well, your point about how do we make a radical innovation emerge, I believe that would be in the context of the Global Innovation Hub, in what their mission is to define and help develop and deploy the means with which radical innovation can grow and be actioned. And so I think that is perhaps a good point to include on a conversation as follow-up at a web meeting with Massamba to get more information of what is happening there and how we can participate, because not everything is going to happen in the Climate Change Coalition. We're sort of a means to support members and related activities. Next item, I saw Jim Whitestone. Would you like to speak to the Task Force for Scaling Voluntary Carbon Markets? You've been sort of supporting coalition activities in the past, so if you'd like to take the mic, please go ahead.
Yeah, so just a very, very quick update. So not a lot to report beyond those updates I got posted on Slack and from previous updates, but as people may be aware, the Task Force on Scaling Voluntary Carbon Markets was really born in response to increasing demand from corporates, largely linked to the net zero commitments and the proliferation of those commitments, and the lack of supply of high quality carbon offsets. So they really are looking at putting in place the infrastructure needed to help scale the supply of carbon markets. So it's not so bespoke. They can look at accessing them readily to help achieve their net zero commitments. So I think I've provided updates in the past. Where things stand right now is they've actually set and put in place a governance structure to oversee the work of the strategy laid out by the task force. They've got a couple different bodies, including an outside advisory body. One of the main focus is really establishing sort of core carbon principles. They don't want to reinvent. There's a lot of existing high quality standards out there, as members well know, but really to kind of come up with sort of set of core carbon principles, and then within that begin to approve sort of an umbrella standard, approve those standards that meet that as a bit of guidance for the market. So our interventions have largely been around trying to highlight the role that digitalization can play in helping to provide the infrastructure and improve the level of trust and transparency in some of these projects and standards, as well as to automate that too, to remove some of the friction and make the whole process of developing these projects and turn them into carbon credits, then exchanging them much more efficient. So that's part of the work plan for this new governance body, but it's more medium term. The initial focus really was these core carbon principles, get us up and running. So what I'll do is I'll continue to monitor that and maybe look for opportunities for us to engage, especially with this independent advisory body. We do know, and Tom, you pointed this in the past, that in many cases there are members of the Climate Change Coalition who are very much engaged with that. They're typically the voluntary standards, and in some cases they actually have people on the board of this new body. So certainly Vera does. So there's a natural linkage there. But that said, I think this is not an immediate focus for them, but it's a medium-term focus. So I'll continue to look for opportunities to engage with them, knowing that many of our members are involved with different aspects of the value chain for carbon credit market. So that'll keep posting that, keep following along and identify the opportunities. The other conversation is going to highlight for the group, and maybe this applies initially to Canadian members, but I do know there's a lot more work going on internationally. Canada's not necessarily at the forefront. So Canada set up a Sustainable Finance Action Council to oversee implementation of a series of recommendations from an expert body that was set up to advise the government on positioning Canada, in the context of sustainable finance. A lot of other centers, a lot of financial centers are quickly moving in this regard. Canada's sort of playing a little bit of catch up on it. But for me, I just want to make a connection between evolution of sustainable finance and the role fintech can play in helping to achieve and provide this infrastructure and really catalyze the evolution of sustainable finance. Other centers are really making this connection. I don't think it's been made in Canada as well. Certainly Singapore has tried to bring the two together. And I think Massamba mentioned the role the International Bank for Settlements has done in developing a bit of a prototype, I think, in Hong Kong, And so, and I know Captain Foster, you've been around this space for a while too. I know you're still on the call, but looking at digitalizing certain debt instruments like green bonds. So there's a lot of work underway, a lot of projects being developed. But I think that I find in some cases there's two solitudes. There's a lot of work going on at stable finance and ESG and a lot of criticisms around greenwashing. And then there's the fintech community. I think there needs to be a lot more effort to try and bring these two communities together, where we know fintech can provide to solve some of the challenges and barriers to scaling stable finance. So again, I'll look for opportunities there, but I'm open for dialogue with others as I have in the past. Certainly, Catherine, you're probably much more acquainted with the space than I am, so I follow a lot of your work. So that's it for me.
Thanks very much, Jim. I'm glad you made this, raised this point for discussion, because you've just reminded me of two recent developments that I've become aware of that that are related. Others might be aware as well. I saw posted online last week that IAAI is launching a digital community committee, pardon me, and Vera, one of the voluntary carbon programs as well, has launched a digital MRV working group and a call for members. And then thirdly, although it was announced at COP, an open collaboration with Gold Standard and myself and other members who is also working on bringing digital into the carbon value chain. So I could post some of those links. I don't have them right at hand to dig them up, but I'll post those into the Slack as well. I think they relate to your points, Jim, because I know the Task Force for Scaling Voluntary Carbon Markets second report highlighted the use of digital for the voluntary carbon markets.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll do that to make myself a note. Sorry. Are there any questions for Jim's update? If not, I'm trying to my best to monitor the chat. Any other? If not, then any other? Thank you very much, Jim. And if any other members have any updates they'd like to share, I know we have some new members. Now's a great time to introduce yourself. I do invite members to introduce themselves on the Slack, but this is another opportunity as well. So please post a chat message if you'd like to introduce yourselves. I don't see anyone jumping at the chance. Then,
hi. Hello. Sorry, I'm sorry. I think I pressed on mute and forgot to press enter to say hi. I'm Rena. I'm from the Cardano Foundation. I'm the PR manager here, but we also have David Taylor was on the call as well. He's our head of marketing, and then we have Alex Mazza as well, who's our impact officer, who's kind of leading the charge and all of this, and kind of corralled David and I onto this. I'm really excited to be part of this group. I was amazed, first of all, to see how many people were here. So just wanted to say hi, let everyone know who I am. I'm really looking forward to getting to know everyone over the coming year.
Thanks very much, Rena. Nice to get a chance to talk with you. I sometimes in the onboarding process have a few emails, but not as frequent an opportunity to speak with people either on web meetings and ideally in person at events. So really thrilled that Cardano Foundation has recently become a member of the coalition, and I hope you will continue to post some updates in the Slack space, because there are, I think, so many things that you're doing relevant to other members. When I take a quick look at our audience today, the vast majority are solution providers on the call, but the coalition overall, the membership's about 50% users and who are learning and in order to determine how they're going to work with digital solution providers as partners in attempting to leverage radical innovation towards, as Massamba described, some transformative change. So please do post into the Slack space, because there's a lot of members who either can't make it or are that user community looking for learning.
Absolutely, we'll make sure to release some. I think you might have seen we had our impact challenge, and we had where we kind of our community pooled together to plant 1 million trees by donating ADA, and then Vertree as well as kind of the transparent and traceable tracking of trees as well and planting. So there's going to be a lot more coming in this space, so we'll make sure to keep you guys updated for sure.
Excellent. Well, thanks again for speaking up. Very happy that you've introduced yourself and that you're members. Miroslav, yes, of course. Other members that would like to introduce themselves, I think, Miroslav, you've got the mic on, so feel free to go ahead. And anyone else, please post a note if you'd like to take the opportunity to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I only wanted to say that I've seen some names that I haven't seen before, and it would be great to see also faces and a few words of these new members, friends, future friends.
Yes, I agree. I have to admit, at least a quarter of the members, about 10 have dropped off at this point because we're nearing the 90-minute mark, but about a quarter on the call were new, which is great to see the new interest. So if anyone who's new would like to say hello, please go ahead.
Hey, Tom, this is Romy. I think Miroslav has already kind of just mentioned my name a bit earlier, but it's a pleasure to be part of the Climate Change Coalition. You guys are all doing great work. So just for those who don't know me or haven't met me yet, my name is Romy Samaria. I'm the founder of my own startup called The Oblique Life. We're an impact and sustainability consultancy. And I'm also working very closely with Miroslav on developing the United Citizens Organization and helping mobilize resources through blockchain and DAO structures. So it's really exciting and looking forward to collaborating with a lot of you on various projects. Also great to have met a variety of you at COP26, especially people like Neil and the great work they're doing at CHEER. So exciting for the follow-on work we'll do together.
Thanks very much, Rami. It's great. I see some good synergies, of course. If we were all a bunch of blockchain developers, it'd be kind of boring. And that's not a complete solution. So really happy that you're amongst the members and have already well on your way to developing those synergies. Yoon, thanks for posting a comment that you're a new member. Please, if you could take the opportunity to introduce yourself some more.
Sure, thanks. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. Yeah, new member here, and actually I joined last year, but it's been busy. We just recently got a notice of this email, so I jumped on it. So my basic background is that we are a mobile app solution provider. I do have a little progress to update regarding the carbon reduction related projects. We are actually working with New York State Energy Research Association, so NYSERDA. So we're about to release a new product called on-demand carpooling, connecting to mass transit. What this project is about is that we already have a large user of mass transit, commuter-based users. So our goal is to connect them together on the transit stations to match up with carpooling. So this project is about to go live in the first quarter of this year. So I would love to, inform this coalition and if anyone would like to help promote this, once we go live, I could post this in the Slack chat as well.
Thanks very much, Yoon, and congratulations on your progress. That's great to hear.
Thank you.
And that's sort of an open invitation to all members, again, to reiterate, please do, after these meetings that are limited, to post updates and follow-ons the Slack space and in the Climate Change Coalition LinkedIn group to really facilitate the communications and knowledge sharing and so on. Thanks, Ying. Samuel, if you'd like to take an opportunity to introduce yourself.
Sure, yeah. Sorry, no video at the moment, but yeah, put a quick intro into the chat. I'm Sam Hustis. I work with RMI, Rocky Mountain Institute. We've currently co-convened the Crypto Climate Accord, which is seeking to decarbonize, crypto industry, and also hoping to kind of leverage, DLT and blockchain to do some emissions tracking in the supply chain as part of our larger goal within our climate intelligence team. So yeah, really happy to be here. Really interesting stuff. Yeah, thanks.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sam. Nice to meet you. Of course, we knew Doug Miller, and he's presented about the Crypto Climate Accord. And being in North America, I'm pretty familiar with Rocky Mountain Institute, having been involved in sustainability 30 years. So I know you have a long pedigree, and really happy to hear about all your efforts directed in this space.
Yeah, and seems like there's just a ton of crossover from, this meeting is really eye-opening for me. So that's been great.
Wow, that's nice to hear. I'm glad to hear we're relevant to some of the really well-established organizations in the size of your network. So that's good. I think we have time for one more introduction or update. Christoph, if you would like to speak to your, I think you put a link in the chat.
Yes, I put the link about the Slack channel because Samuel was asking for the link.
Okay. Very good. Thanks for doing that. If you don't have an update, that's okay. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Excuse me?
I apologize if I misunderstood your comment. I only saw the first part of it. So thanks for putting the link there. And that way you can
You're welcome.
Okay, I want to say thanks to everyone who joined today and contributed. I think it was a really good kickoff meeting for this year, and it's been a nice exchange, but just the beginning. I'll post this recorded meeting and some of the follow-on notes, as will others. And again, thanks to you not only for joining this call, but everything that you're doing in advancing your solutions and working together, which is going to be incredibly necessary and valuable, and good to see many of you again. So I hope you're off to a good start to 2022, and that you're all healthy and safe, and get to see you in the not too distant future. I'll just wave goodbye, and all the best to everyone.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.